Hello and welcome to the Wednesday check-in here on Landy's Crypto Corner. Today is October 30th, 2024, and we're looking at the monthly on Bitcoin today, mainly because we have, Thursday as Halloween and the last day of the month. And when I talk to you again on Friday, we will be in November. So we're going to take a look at the monthly here. If you're in one of the various servers on Discord that I do TA in, you may have seen this actual monthly chart with the triple Bollinger Band set on it fairly recently. So I do want to talk about a few things here that is starting to shape up. Now we'll see where things close by the end of the month, or the close of the Thursday candle coming into Friday. But we have some structure that could be locked in here. Now, when we zoom in here to the monthly time frame, we can see that Bitcoin's last confirmed higher low on a close. Let me actually change this. The yellow arrows don't do it for me here. We got to get it back to a color that is a little bit more distinctive. There we go. All right, so our last higher low close on the monthly is right here at 24,951. Now, this is a higher low swing and close. This is the last one. So far, we have, a tentatively confirmed higher low swing right now. And we're looking for this higher low swing to be confirmed with the October monthly close. Now, of course, this is coming in at $49,000. That was a retest of the ETF high from January. Now, if this does lock in, that would occur on any closes technically above around $67,500. Now, where would I like to see it? Well, right where it is right now, either above $72,000 or higher. And that's where I'd like to see it for continuation up to somewhere around the upper second standard deviation over time. And that's currently at around 80,000, starting to creep up on $81,000 as Bitcoin has regained that $72,000 number. Now, the bands do slightly adjust throughout the month. And in this case, we will see this update. And it's likely going to be somewhere around the mid 80s if I had to give it a good guess here. Yeah, what did we get here? We were around 77, and with Bitcoin being above the upper first, I'd be looking at this upper second somewhere around $85,000, provided Bitcoin doesn't crash out below the upper first by the end of the month. Now, in this case, this is going to be the bias buster here as well. So if we do start to see any kind of shallow tops, you see the upper third is coming in just shy of $100,000. A shallow top would be somewhere around the upper second, upper third zone that then comes down and takes out the $49,000 low. That's not what I'm looking for, to be quite honest, but I've gotten a lot of questions, mainly because of the upcoming election here on the 5th. Like, well, in one scenario, we have a fairly crypto unfriendly administration, and in another, we have a fairly crypto friendly administration. And my answer is that no matter what, we are going to see a bull run. It's just a matter of how high it goes and how long it goes. In one scenario where there's a crypto unfriendly administration, I could see the high being fairly shallow in comparison to many of the expectations out there. And in another scenario, I could see it absolutely ripping. But of course, that's pure speculation right now. But in this current instance, invalidation for the bulls is going to be anywhere below $49,000. I'm fairly confident. I shouldn't say that. It's looking as though 67.5 is very likely to be closed above, and that will confirm the swing low at 49, and that will paint a closing higher low. Then the bulls need to pay attention in the macro scale, like the monthly here, to that $49,000 level. And, we're already looking at some of our targets from Monday having been hit to right around the all-time high. So what is the next criteria rather? Well, and where is it? Well, it's 73.835 on daily closes above, and I'm still looking 73 to 75 is the zone, 75 to 78, 78 to 80, mid to low 80s from there. And obviously you see the upper second is right there at the low $80,000 region. And I do expect it to update to around the mid $80,000 region. Now, one of the big things that you do need to understand about this is if we start seeing closes above the upper second, that will kick off very aggressive expansion to the upside here. We're probably looking at a price replace band scenario where we get price moving up to that $100,000 target that everyone's been talking about realistically since somewhere around here at $25,000. And, that's been the narrative. And I'm going to kind of stick to it. I will say that would be on closes above $80,000 that didn't already hit it on the monthly time frame. Wicks be damned. They can kind of land anywhere. We're talking like confirmation of expansion on the monthly time frame. You can see that I have this BBWP. This is Bollinger Band Width Percentile by the Caretaker. This is a combination of Bollinger Band Width and Bollinger Band Percentage, which are two separate indicators, and a little bit of cool math that helps you kind of define what the volatility is as it relates to the bands in an expansive and contractive phase. And right now we do have a contraction going on with the Bollinger Bands here. And, many might find that pretty surprising because we saw initial expansion from November into December of 2023 on the close above the upper second standard deviation here. We saw expansion to the upside, and of course that also means that you get that equal expansion to the downside or outsized expansion to the downside as the upper bands expand. And, we've now gone sideways and hugged the upper first standard deviation, and we've seen the lower second and lower first begin to rise back up. We've seen BBWP cool down in the context of Bitcoin being in and around the upper first, kind of between the upper first and upper second standard deviation. So we haven't really seen full-on expansion kick off. Obviously, we haven't seen the run kick off. We just got a little bit of a higher high structure above the prior cycle high at $69,000 right here from March into April. And that being the close into the open there. And then a couple of retests and then down to test the ETF highs from early January. Now, what is this telling me? This is telling me that Bitcoin is coiling up. It's consolidating within the context of an uptrending structure on the monthly. And more often than not, we will see this resolve to the upside no matter what. Even if Bitcoin were to come back down and retest the basis band, it would just be a prolonged, sideways kind of a consolidation. And I would not be looking for this to resolve itself to the downside. That's just not what I'm seeing being painted on the longer term timeframes, which I'll get into a little bit more maybe on Friday or next Monday. So, we will be talking about like the quarterly and even the 6 month, because there are some interesting things going on there. And in this case, the monthly, there is something to pay attention to. And I did mention this when the monthly kind of crossed down back here in April, when we got the initial cross and then the follow-up coming into May. This is a regular momentum indicator, but we have an uptrend on the monthly as it stands right now, right? So I was looking for this to bullish a reset, and that possibility is now in the cards coming into November on any closes above 65,850. So, if we were to start seeing, Bitcoin head back down towards the 67.5 before the monthly close, then maybe we could entertain that pivot number not being met, at least in the lower term timeframes. But realistically, when we see that cross, most likely we're going to see that pivot number dive down to the lows somewhere around 60,000 or maybe even below into the wick region. But I will follow up with you on Friday on where that pivot for momentum is. The other thing is we don't have any, in trend bearish divergence just yet here. And this is kind of what we look for, right? So we had 2021, we had the first high at $65,000 up here, and then later in 2021. So this was, of course, in March, March, April, May, sell in May, walk away. We went through the reaccumulation phase, and then in the actual, October into, well, it was September into October, we had the $69,000 high there that was painted. So, this is where, the October to November is where it, really got rolling, but we had a really vast bearish divergence here within the context of that uptrend. And there is a case to be made. I am curious, we haven't seen Bitcoin get really hot on RSI here. I am curious to see kind of where things are for the bullish critical zone here. Bull critical zone is $162,000, so that's our 85 read up here. User alert high is the line just above it, just about at 87 to 88. And where is the user alert? It's about $188,000. So I'm curious where this high would be now. So this read is coming in around, actually, we can get this, we can get it exact, 76.79. So we would need to see the monthly RSI close above a 77 read to avoid bearish divergence, right? Yeah. And so we can actually figure out what that number would be. We'll take the bull critical zone down to that 77 read and just see what the number would have to be. So we have the critical bull at the 85. Let's bring that down to a 77 so we get a clear picture of what the price would need to be from here. So bull critical zone, hey, guess what? Moves to $104,000, $104,469. Nice. Is what would need to be met in terms of price closures up there to avoid a bearish divergence. And I'll tell you that if it does avoid a bearish divergence by getting monthly closures above $100,000, and specifically above about 105, we're probably looking for substantial upside above there. Whether that turns into a wick or closures doesn't really matter. But that's actually really encouraging for some of you that are looking for some very deep projections on price action there. So we'll put this back at an 85, and that's cool. I'm down for that. I will say that a bearish divergence would likely occur on any closes that fail to breach that $100,000 region then. So that's where we would see a bearish divergence. And that would be an in-trend bearish divergence if we start to see any kind of a high structure, not just candle close. Remember, we're talking about high structures in this case. So any kind of high structure that comes in above $100,000 would avoid bearish divergence in trend. And any structure that comes in below about $105,000 would actually throw an in-trend bearish divergence. And that's where we would have to pay attention to this higher low structure that seems to be built and seems to be locked in. We'll see, what Thursday holds. We'll see it, we'll follow up with that on Friday. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. I know that everybody's like, well, what about, the lower term timeframes? Are we ready to moon? Is everything going to go? I think it's more about the macro right now. And I am going to pull back down and take a look at some of the lower term timeframes just to remind you, kind of the context on the weekly here in terms of structure. We're pushing the upper second standard deviation. You notice I'm not doing any support and resistance stuff right now. I think this is more important to kind of focus on volatility expansion for this video, and then we'll follow up with everything on Friday. But the upper second standard deviation is at about 72,100. If we get a weekly closure, and I'll follow up with you on Friday on this, but we get a weekly closure above here, we are looking for weekly expansion to the upside. We've seen this kind of a range being built between the lower second and upper second. Before, the last time we saw this is, guess what? Last August into September, and then October into November is when we got the nice moves up, and then into January, the nice spike high to that higher low structure there. It was a very, very nice high painted on a swing, but no closing high, but nice higher low structure off the bottom there. So a nice swing high to swing low. That was a monthly strike at 38.5, which is a monthly close open as well, which was beautiful. And this is kind of shaping up that way. Now, I will say that, we need to see the weekly, of course, close above the upper second to really start kicking off that weekly volatility expansion to the upside here. A reminder of kind of the weekly pivot, and we're just entering the overbought zone here. And of course, Bitcoin can stay in the overbought zone for an extended period of time. This is a regular Stochh, not a Stochh RSI. So this is measuring close over close price momentum, not the velocity of RSI. We already use RSI. I don't need a movement-based indicator or a momentum-based indicator for RSI when it's already momentum-based. So, and in this case, 67, 630, 33 is going to be the pivot there. And you'll note that that's right around where the monthly criteria is to set a closing high or low, is around that 67.5. So obviously we're going to be paying close attention to this on the monthly, and then we'll get the weekly closure. So if the monthly closes above there, sets the higher low and the swing low here at 49K as in, then I'd be looking for the weekly to follow through. And, that doesn't mean that there isn't going to be lower term time frame volatility. There absolutely can be, and most likely will be. We do see that, we're not getting a pinch of the Bollinger Bands. We're getting kind of a sideways and up range of the Bollinger Bands. We're not getting like a compression and then expansion. But that doesn't mean that we can't see, aggressive expansion on closes above the upper second here at around $73,000, which of course would be targeting my first zone. So we got, 73 to 75 between the upper second and upper third. That's my first zone of interest that I've been talking about on the daily, 73 to 75, and then 75 to 78 in the context of the weekly here, which, if we start closing above, 75, I would be looking for the weekly to kind of either get a wick above the upper third here at almost $77,000 to, kind of that 75, 78. And then when looking at the monthly, that's where I'm getting my 78 to 80. And then we come back to it because it's probably mid to low 80s from there. And then we can start looking to the deeper $80,000 to $90,000 region and possibly that 100K up there. Now there is some confluent Fibonacci levels, and we can have some fun with fibs on Friday. And in fact, I think we will do that. I'm going to show you a little bit of history, and I'll give you a preview of last cycle. And this is just a relevant fib pull from the prior cycle. And you'll see that the 1618 is what is where Bitcoin kind of topped out at. And, that's not a be all end all. That's not like it's going to do that every single time. I'm going to show you a little bit of history based on pulling those bear market fib extensions and measuring the extensions up. So we'll have some fun. We'll talk about a few things here. I will say on the daily, kind of to follow up with where I kind of left off on Monday for the daily, as long as Bitcoin is closing highs, closing anywhere above 66,620 for the daily, it's fine. But again, remember 67.5 is the number that we want to see closed above by the end of the month here. So keep that in mind. But for daily structure, this last low structure at around 66,600 is fine. Pullbacks, strong pullbacks or bullish pullbacks to around $70,000 are fine. And in fact, a retest even at $69,000 is fine as well. If it starts to fall below there, then we start to look at the structure between 68 and 69 essentially. So between this close open here and the 69.5 high here. And this high is the continuation high. So closes above there on the weekly. We're looking at continuation. We've already kind of seen that. We just need to see the highs broken, the all-time high broken in Bitcoin to get on with this run. And any closes above the basis band are still going to be bullish, and that's around $68,000 as well. So right around this high side closing structure on the candles at 68 to around $69,000, fair pullback area. And really bullish on pullbacks above $70,000. So looks good. Would like to see 73 closed above and start hitting that 73 to 75 zone personally. Daily, for momentum, looks good. $70,000 again, 70,500. So, I don't want to see closes basically below 70,500 to preserve momentum. Looks good. Looks good. Looks fine. We'll see how things go on Thursday. We'll take a look at the monthly close on Friday. You all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, no matter where you are in the world. Please trade safe. And of course, as always, stay safe. With all of that being said, Landy out. Take care.